I want to jump to this story from Newsweek. Donald Trump's properties will likely be auctioned off, attorney says. So where are we? Where are we currently? We're at the point where the former president is facing 91 indictments. He's been charged. He is facing, I guess, the rest of his life in prison. His lawyers are facing several, it could be decades in prison. They're sanctioning other lawyers who made arguments on his behalf. They're targeting Trump supporters as MAGA extremists. The FBI is targeting Trump's supporters. If you're a Trump voter or Trump follower, you're an extremist according to the FBI. This is a leap from where we've seen it before. And now we're hearing that after a judge summarily ruled that Donald Trump must dissolve the Trump Organization and several New York companies, a former attorney out of New York is saying that likely what they'll do is they're going to liquidate and auction off his properties. Donald Trump's properties will likely be liquidated and sold off at auction after a judge found he'd committed fraud, New York's former assistant attorney general has said. So it's not just some attorney, it's the former assistant attorney general. Tristan Snell was speaking after a court found that the former president had massively inflated the value of some of his properties and ordered that some Trump companies involved be stripped of their corporate licenses. Quote, "The worst outcome that could have come from this case has already been handed down, and that is for the corporate licenses to be canceled. The properties are likely going to be liquidated. The properties are probably going to be sold at auction. That's probably what is going to happen. We don't know that for sure, but that is probably where this is headed. So Trump is already really, really in trouble." Did the courts prove that Donald Trump committed fraud? They didn't. The AG said, here's our argument. Donald Trump's team said, we have an argument. And the judge said, I don't care. Bang the gavel, summary judgment. You did commit fraud because I said so. And that's it.
Luke, I'm with you. Make this man Speaker of the House.
Now they could effectively seize and auction off his properties and just strip him of his wealth. You know, when I don't view Donald Trump as doing all of this for himself in terms of financial gain, because he ain't getting it. He's losing it. But I wonder if Donald Trump is doing this for himself because he is filled with a blind rage and wants revenge, and I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, look, he knows that these people have done basically everything to try to screw him over and screw the American people over. And it's very important for the powers that be that you, as an average person watching what's happening in the media, know that this is what happens to people who stand up to them. This is what people who are a thorn in the side of the establishment are going to have to go to in present day America. It's a very sad situation, and we have to pray for him. He's really going through a lot. And I genuinely do believe that regardless of whether I agree with him on everything, and there are certainly things I disagree with him about, that he's doing a lot of this because he is angry with the injustices that the American people have faced at the hands of the establishment over the past several decades.
Kyle Seraphin made a joke once that there's so many stacking human rights violations in this country now that the country we used to live in would do a land invasion of the country we currently live in. No,
I mean, there's some truth in that. And when you look specifically at what's happening to Donald Trump, I think, part of me wonders if you mentioned earlier that the system is attacking him right now, and he is the lead candidate running for president right now. I think those two things, while certainly being correlated, it's difficult for me to suss out whether that relationship is necessarily causal. And I don't know that you were implying that it was, but on some level, it seems to me important to them to go after the front runner if the front runner is challenging the establishment. On the other hand, I also wonder if even if Trump was in last place, they would still be doing this because they have to punish those who stand up to the regime.
In many ways, this is... Oh, sorry.
No, go. Well, let me just make one point. I think you made a very interesting kind of observation, because I do think if the United States saw what was happening inside of the United States, they would invade the United States in order to restore democracy and rule of law. So it's a little bit ridiculous. Again, I've been a critic of Donald Trump, but this is clear political prosecution. This is clearly them doing everything in their power to try to stop him. And the more that they do that, the more popular he becomes. The more people support him in the polls, the more people want him to become president of the United States. At what point do they realize that whoever they're trying to stop, they're also growing at the same time?
Well, exactly. And that goes hand in hand with what I was saying earlier. If it was the other way around, right, and the media was talking about how Trump actually did nothing wrong and the system was going after him for unjust reasons, then maybe the American people wouldn't support him. I think it's a combination of factors. People don't trust the media anymore. This goes hand in hand with what I was saying earlier about the fact that when their apparatus for propagandizing people fails, they have to use force. I mean, he is ahead in the polls. All of the slander has not been effective at reducing his popularity, and so this is what they need to do.
Mar-a-Lago is not worth $20 million. That is an absurdity on its face. As a business alone with no real estate assets, it's generating more than that per year. The real estate alone, even if you want to argue that it's got covenants or tenants restricting its use in certain ways, it is still 17 and a half acres. The judge is lying. These people are evil and they are psychotic. And what they are doing to Trump to seize his properties, to seize his money, is communism 101.
Yep.
If this really comes down to it, that they cancel the license of Trump's companies, they lose on appeal, and then they liquidate and auction them off at pennies on the dollar to strip Trump of his net worth? Welcome to a whole new ball game, ladies and gentlemen. There's no way this judge is so stupid he doesn't know that he's lying. He's just evil.
Well, and for your average person looking at this, again, they see Donald Trump, an actual billionaire, being handled in this way by the system. And I think it could cause them to despair, to go, well, if he's not able to get through this, right? If he's not able to leverage the economic power that he has to escape this kind of political prosecution, what hope is there for me?
Yeah, and in many respects, what we're seeing is actually worse than an assassination. We've had assassinations in this country. We've actually never had presidents indicted like this and having their entire lives destroyed via these liquidations and these gangbang of lawsuits from every direction. But the fact is when JFK got assassinated or when Abe Lincoln got assassinated, there was not an attempt to say this is a legitimate course of action. There was not, like, you could say this is a tragedy, this is horrible, but it's a one-off thing that doesn't actually make me entirely lose faith in the legitimacy of the system because it wasn't system approved. What we're seeing now is effectively an assassination, and don't kid yourself. He's facing 750 years in prison. That's death. That is capital punishment. And I mean, it's only 25 years for first-degree murder. And he's facing 750 without even on totally novel legal theories. So what they are doing to the perceptions of legitimacy in this country by doing it this way is honestly an order of magnitude more shocking. I wasn't alive for whatever was experienced during JFK, but I have to imagine that. I mean, how can anyone here forget this for the rest of their lives? And there's always going to be a degree of cold anger about what they've done to this guy just for running for office.
Well, so here's the question for you guys, and maybe this is just a question of whether you see the glass half full or half empty, whether you're an optimist or a pessimist, but do you think that this is going to terrify people and make them feel afraid to do anything because Trump can't escape these charges and they'll feel like they can? Or do you think this is going to edify people? This is going to make them angrier with the system? This is going to make them want to stand up to the powers that be?
I don't think either. I think regular people are starting to get scared. They don't want to stand up to anybody. They want to be left alone. When I'm hanging out with some regular folks on the weekends, just apolitical, nothing to do with this, playing at the old poker tables. And some lib guy said, I hate Donald Trump, but trying to get him off the ballot, this is getting insane. Mm-hmm. And I've heard sentiment like this quite a bit from regular people who are just like, I don't like Donald Trump. I can't stand that guy. But man, this is getting crazy. And if you look at that perspective and then go back to, say, 2020 or 2019, I heard from a lot of people saying things like, I just want it all to stop. Donald Trump won't shut his mouth. He's so annoying. A lot of people felt that everything happening in the culture war and in politics was the fault of Donald Trump.
Yep.
And that if they just voted for Biden, it would all stop. And it would go back to us just plugging our ears and watching sports and letting Obama blow up kids and no one has to pay attention. And then it got worse. Not only did it get worse, the economy got worse. And now they won't stop. Trump isn't even president anymore, and they're trying to put him in prison. They're trying to seize his properties. And I think now what you're starting to see from regular people who thought voting for Biden would get them out of this is these people who got rid of Trump, they're making it 10 times worse. And now it's getting very scary. And I think a lot of these people might actually end up voting for Trump in fear, thinking we need someone to stop the extremism. And it's certainly, we were wrong.
Yeah.
Voting for Joe Biden exacerbated the problem.
So, yeah, well, I'll let you guys respond first before I interject with my point. Do you think this is going to make people more afraid? Do you think this is going to edify them?
I think looking at the poll numbers, I think a lot of people are saying, I'm just going to support this guy. I think we're also reaching a situation where a lot of people are having their lives upended under this economy. I think inflation has a big deal to have this kind of sentiment of people being pissed off, people saying, hey, everything I had, everything I wanted to achieve in this life is becoming less and less achievable. Groceries are becoming more and more expensive under this administration, and now they're doing a huge power grab where they are trying to put their main political opponent in jail. This is a bad sign for me. This is a bad sign for my country, for my children, and I think a lot of them are concerned. I think a lot of them are also reaching a point where they're encroaching such poverty that they just don't give a damn. They don't care. They're pissed off.
I think a lot of these people probably won't vote for Trump, but they certainly won't vote for Biden or whoever the Democrat is, because they're going to be thinking in their mind, I did this last time and it got worse. Just leave me alone, please. I'm scared.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would say to anyone who's afraid of standing up to the system in any kind of meaningful way because of what's happening to Donald Trump is that when you appease the left, you show them that the tactic that they're using works and they double down. They only get worse.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.